Hey guys, welcome back to my channel Sociology with Mahima. In this video, we will discuss Claude Levi Strauss and his contribution in social structure. In this video, we will cover the following topics. So let's get started. Claude Levi Strauss was a French anthropologist. He lived from 1908 to 2009. He is best known as the founder of Structuralism in anthropology. Levi Strauss believed that if we look closely at any society, its kinship, its culture, its myth, or even everyday behavior, we will find something interesting. According to him, the human mind everywhere works in a similar way. No matter which part of the world we look at, humans tend to think using certain basic mental structures. These structures are not visible on the surface, but they quietly shape how people organize their families, how they tell stories, how they follow rituals, and even how they understand the world around them. So, Levi Strauss argued that beneath all cultural differences, social variations, myths, symbols, rituals, and kinship rules, there are deep underlying mental patterns that guide human behavior. These hidden mental structures are what he called structures, and studying them is what gave rise to structuralism. Levi Strauss' major concepts include social structuralism model, binary opposition, alliance theory, and criticizes functional theory of totemism. At the heart of structuralism is a very interesting idea, that is, using language as a model to understand society. Let me explain this step by step. Think about a linguist studies a language. A linguist does not just look at individual words randomly. Instead, they study sentences, grammar, and the rules that make language meaningful. These rules are mostly unconscious. We follow them without even thinking about them. Levi Strauss said, in the same way, if we want to understand society, we should not just look at isolated social behaviors or customs. Instead, we must look for the underlying patterns and rules that organize social life. This is very different from functionalism, which compares society to a living organism and focuses mainly on observable behavior and social functions. Structuralism, on the other hand, is interested in what is hidden beneath the surface, the invisible rules and systems that shape social behavior. For example, just as the grammar of a language stays the same even if sentences change, the underlying social structures stay consistent even if outward customs or practices change across societies. Think of it like a musical composition. A song can be performed in many different ways, with different instruments or styles, but the core melody and harmony remains the same. Structuralists see society in a similar way. Its deeper patterns, not visible actions, reveals the true logic of social life. This shift in perspective helps sociology and anthropology look beyond what we can see to uncover the invisible rules that govern human relationships, myths, kinship, and culture. The core idea of structuralism is that beneath every observable social behavior, there exists a deeper abstract structure that gives that behavior meaning. Structuralism is not mainly concerned with what people do on the surface, like rituals, customs, or individual actions. Instead, it focuses on the underlying system of relationships that organize these actions. This is similar to how a linguist studies a language. They don't just look at the words spoken, but the grammar and rules that structure language and make it meaningful. One important idea in structuralism is transformation. This means the same deep structure can appear in different forms in different societies. Think of it like a piece of music. It can be played on different instruments in different styles or at different tempos, but the core melody or pattern remains the same. Similarly, cultural practices, myths, or kinship rules may look different across societies, but the underlying social structure stays constant. Structuralism makes a clear distinction between social relations and social structure. In other words, raw data versus the abstract structure behind it. Structuralism represents a shift in anthropology, from focusing on observable behavior to focusing on structure, from organic analogy to language analogy. Now let's compare two major thinkers in anthropology, A.R. Radcliff Brown and Claude Levi Strauss. Radcliff Brown sees social structure as real and observable. Structure exists in a specific society at a specific time and place. You can study it directly through social relationships. Whereas Levi Strauss sees structure as abstract. It is not directly visible. Instead, it is a conceptual model that explains underlying patterns in human behavior, culture, and myths. Radcliffe Brown analysis focuses on one particular society. He studies the structure of a specific community or culture. Levi Strauss' approach is much broader. He looks for universal patterns across all human societies, aiming to uncover structures common to humanities. Radcliffe Brown's social structure is closely tied to observable reality. The relationships you see in a society are the structure itself. Levi-Strauss' social structure is not directly tied to observable reality. It is a model or framework built from empirical data to explain patterns that may not be immediately visible. Radcliffe Brown focuses on social structure as a real existing network of relationships. Anthropology studies actual social ties and their functions. Levi-Strauss structure is not a field of study itself. Instead, it is an explanatory method, a tool to understand human culture and behavior. Radcliffe Brown emphasizes observable relations, roles, and functional continuity, how each part of society contributes to stability. Levi-Strauss emphasizes models, deep structures, transformations, and the analogy with language, focusing on hidden patterns that govern social life. Radcliffe Brown understanding comes from what persists within a specific society, the relationships and social positions that remain stable over time, whereas Levi-Strauss understanding comes from universal patterns that persist across societies, structural rules that the human mind produces everywhere. Levi-Strauss argues that social structure is not something we can directly observe in society. Instead, it is a model constructed by anthropologists. Think of it like a blueprint or map. It helps us make sense of what we see, but it is not the actual society itself. According to him, we do not study social structure as a separate field. Its main function is as an explanatory method. In other words, it is a tool used to understand the deeper patterns behind social relations. Social relations are the raw observable data, the actual interaction between people like kinship ties, marriages, or alliances. Social structure, on the other hand, is a logical construction built from these interactions. This means social structure cannot be reduced to the raw data. It's a conceptual framework that organizes and interprets what we observe. The social structure model helps uncover deep, often unconscious rules that govern human behavior. Just like a linguist can study sentences to understand the grammar of a language, Levi-Strauss studies social relations to uncover the grammar of society, the hidden rules that structure human life. For Levi-Strauss, social structure is not a concrete reality, but a theoretical model. It's a conceptual tool that allows anthropologists to analyze and interpret the deeper patterns beneath the surface of social life. This approach emphasizes thinking about society abstractly, focusing on universal patterns rather than just observable behavior in a particular society. Now let's understand a very important distinction made by Claude Levi Strauss, the difference between social relations and social structure. His entire structuralist approach is built upon this distinction. Levi Strauss says that social relations are the actual interactions that take place in everyday life. These are things we can see, describe, and observe directly. These relations belong to empirical reality, meaning they exist in the real world and can be recorded just like any other fact. So think of social relations as the raw data of human life, like the sentences we speak in language. Now, Levi Strauss argues that social structure is not visible, not something we can directly observe in the field. Instead, it is a model constructed by anthropologists to make sense of the raw data. This means social structure is abstract, not concrete. It exists in the mind of analysts, not in direct experience. It is built from empirical facts, but it is not same as those facts. Just as a linguist creates a grammar model to explain how language works, the anthropologists create a structural model to explain how society works. Even though structures emerge from real social relations, they cannot be reduced to them, because structure represents the underlying logic, the hidden pattern that organizes the social world. Thus, social structure is deeper than the surface level interactions. So, the anthropologist's job is not just to record what people do, but to build a model that explains why they do and how their behavior follows deeper unconscious patterns. Levi-Strauss' distinction helps shift anthropology from describing what people do to understanding the invisible system that shapes what they do. It transforms anthropology into a more analytical, scientific study of patterns, structures, and deep logic instead of just observing customs on the surface. Finally, let's look at the three distinctions made by Levi-Strauss. Levi-Strauss makes three important distinctions to clarify how structural analysis works. First is the distinction between observation and experimentation on models. The anthropologist must observe social facts without bias, describe them, build models from them, and then experiment by comparing different models to identify which one best explains the observed reality. Second is the difference between conscious and unconscious models. Conscious models or insiders models are the norms by which a society understands itself. But beneath these lies the unconscious structures that people do not directly perceive and that anthropologists primarily analyze. Even flawed conscious models can guide us to these deeper structures. Third, he distinguished mechanical and statistical models. Mechanical models lies on the same scale as the phenomenon, such as when marriage rules match social groupings, while statistical models arises when behavior deviates from stated rules, reflecting patterns of actual practice influenced by multiple factors. Together, these distinctions shows how structuralism moves from observation to deeper structural explanation. That's all for today's class. If you liked the class, please hit the like button. For PDFs and other sociology related content, you can visit my Telegram channel. Thank you. See you in the next class.